Move in Silence. The Stoic Guide to Building Wealth. Written and published by Mindset Academy AudioBook. Part 1. There is a quiet kind of power that most people never learn to respect. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't rush to be seen. It simply builds. If you look closely at the people who create lasting wealth, not overnight success, not viral wins, not temporary spikes, you'll notice something strange about them. They are rarely loud. They don't explain their plans in detail. They don't argue online. They don't chase validation for every small step forward. They move quietly. And they move consistently. This is not an accident. It is discipline. Long before the internet, before social media, before modern finance, the Stoics understood a truth that still governs success today. Energy is finite, attention is fragile, and the mind must be guarded if anything meaningful is to be built. This book is about that guard. It is not about showing off wealth. It is not about shortcuts. It is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about building a life and financial future that does not depend on noise. Why silence matters more than ever. We live in a world that rewards talking more than doing. People announce goals they haven't earned yet. They document beginnings instead of finishing. They confuse attention with progress. But attention is cheap. Discipline is rare. The moment you speak too early about what you plan to do, something subtle happens. Your mind relaxes. It feels as if the work has already begun, even though nothing has changed. That small release of pressure is enough to weaken consistency. The Stoics warned against this centuries ago. They believed that virtue practiced quietly was stronger than virtue displayed. The same applies to effort, discipline, and wealth. When you move in silence, you waste less energy explaining yourself. You feel less pressure to perform. You make decisions based on reason, not image. Silence removes the audience. And without an audience, the ego has nothing to feed on. What remains is work. Stoicism is not anti-wealth. This is important to understand early. Stoicism does not reject money. It rejects slavery to desire. The Stoics believed wealth was neither good nor bad by itself. What mattered was whether you controlled it, or it controlled you. Money, in their view, was a tool. A useful one, but a dangerous one in undisciplined hands. If you chase money emotionally, it will destabilize you. If you fear losing it, it will own you. If you measure your worth by it, it will corrupt you. But if you approach wealth calmly, patiently, and rationally, it becomes leverage. Freedom. Optionality. The goal is not excess. The goal is independence. The inner work comes first. Most people try to fix their finances without fixing their behavior. They look for better strategies, better investments, better opportunities, while carrying the same impulses, the same emotional reactions, the same habits that created the problem in the first place. Stoicism flips this approach. Before money, there is self-control. Before investing, there is patience. Before risk, there is emotional stability. If you cannot delay gratification, no income will be enough. If you cannot tolerate boredom, you will chase volatility. If you cannot control fear, you will sell too early and buy too late. Wealth does not reward intelligence alone. It rewards temperament. That is why this book begins with the mind. The loud life versus the quiet life. A loud life seeks proof. It needs others to notice effort. It wants reassurance before results arrive. It compares constantly. Quiet life builds internally. It saves before spending. It learns before acting. It waits while others rush. One life looks exciting. The other becomes wealthy. Stoicism teaches you to choose the second without resentment. You stop explaining why you are disciplined. You stop justifying why you don't spend impulsively. You stop reacting to opinions that don't pay your bills. Silence becomes a filter. Emotional control is financial control. Every major financial mistake begins as an emotional reaction. Fear tells you to pull out too early. Greed tells you to chase too late. Ego tells you to take risks you don't understand. Envy tells you that slow growth isn't enough. The Stoics train themselves to pause between impulse and action. That pause is where wealth is protected. When you feel urgency, stop. When you feel excitement, slow down. When you feel panic, do nothing. A calm mind sees clearly. A reactive mind sees only what it fears or desires. This is not about suppressing emotion. It is about not obeying it blindly. The strength of long-time horizons. Most people think in weeks. Some think in months. Very few think in years. Stoicism trains long vision. When you stop needing immediate results, your decisions improve dramatically. You stop chasing fast money. You stop abandoning good plans because they don't reward you quickly. Compounding requires patience, and patience requires perspective. A Stoic understands that small, boring actions repeated daily outperform dramatic gestures performed occasionally. Saving quietly, learning steadily, investing cautiously, improving habits gradually. None of this looks impressive in the moment. That is why most people don't do it. Why privacy protects growth. When you keep your plans private, you gain freedom. Freedom to change direction without embarrassment. Freedom to fail without explanation. Freedom to learn without defending yourself. Public goals create social pressure. Private goals create personal accountability. The Stoics believed that approval from others was unstable and unreliable. If your motivation depends on it, your discipline collapses the moment attention fades. Wealth built quietly is harder to sabotage, by others and by yourself. The role of detachment. Detachment is one of the most misunderstood Stoic ideas. It does not mean you don't care. It means you don't cling. You work diligently, but you accept uncertainty. You plan carefully, but you adapt calmly. You pursue wealth, but you do not define yourself by it. This mental distance keeps decisions rational. When money is your identity, every fluctuation feels personal. When money is a tool, fluctuations are data, not drama. Detachment keeps you steady. The discipline of saying no. Quiet wealth is built as much by refusal as by action. You say no to impulse purchases. You say no to unnecessary upgrades. You say no to lifestyles you can't sustain. You say no to distractions disguised as opportunities. Each refusal strengthens self-command. The Stoics believed that freedom was found not in having everything, but in not needing everything. That mindset alone changes how you earn, save, and invest. Who this book is for. This book is for the person who is tired of noise. The person who doesn't want hype, just result. The person who understands that real change is slow, quiet, and internal. The person willing to build without applause. If you commit to this path, you will not look impressive early on. But over time, something happens. Your finances stabilize. Your decisions sharpen. Your confidence becomes calm instead of loud. And one day, without announcing it, you realize you are no longer chasing wealth. You are managing it. This is the foundation. From here, we will go deeper into self-discipline, desire control, patience, risk, and the daily mental habits that quietly separate those who struggle forever from those who build lasting wealth. No noise. No rush. Just steady progress. Part 2. If Part 1 was about quiet foundations, this part is about something harder to master. Control. Not control over other people. Not control over outcomes. Control over yourself. The Stoics believed that most suffering, financial and otherwise, comes from wanting things too intensely, too quickly, and for the wrong reasons. Modern life has only amplified this problem. Everything is faster now. Louder. More tempting. More distracting. And yet, the principles have not changed. If you cannot control desire, money will never be enough. If you cannot control impulse, opportunity will always slip away. If you cannot control emotion, wealth will feel unstable no matter how much you accumulate. This is where silent discipline begins. Desire is not the enemy. Unexamined desire is. Most people don't know what they actually want. They want what they see. They want what others have. They want what feels good in the moment. The Stoics taught that desire should be questioned before it is obeyed. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this improving my life or distracting me from it? Will this still matter in a year? Unchecked desire leads to financial chaos. Every impulse purchase, every emotional decision, every rushed investment usually traces back to a feeling that was never examined. Wealth grows when desire is filtered through reason. This does not mean living a joyless life. It means choosing satisfaction over stimulation. The cost of emotional spending. Spending is rarely logical. People spend when they are stressed, when they feel behind, when they want to feel important, when they want relief. The Stoics would call this trading long-term peace for short-term comfort. Emotional spending creates a cycle. Discomfort purchase temporary relief, regret more discomfort. Silent wealth builders break this loop by pausing. They don't ask, "Can I afford this?" They ask, "Why do I want this right now?" That pause saves more money than any budgeting trick. Self-command is a financial skill. We talk about financial literacy as if it's only about numbers, but the real skill is restraint. Knowing how compound interest works is useless if you can't delay gratification. Understanding markets doesn't help if fear makes you exit too early. The Stoics trained self-command daily in small ways. Eating simply, enduring discomfort, saying no to excess, not because pleasure was bad but because dependence was dangerous. Every time you resist a small impulse, you strengthen the muscle that protects larger decisions. Wealth favors those who can sit with discomfort without reacting. Why boredom is an advantage. Most people fear boredom. They fill every gap with noise. They chase excitement. They abandon steady paths because they feel dull. But boredom is where discipline lives. Long-term investing is boring. Consistent saving is boring. Skill building is boring. That boredom filters people out. The Stoics understood this. They believed that a calm, uneventful mind was a sign of mastery, not weakness. If you can tolerate boredom, you gain access to opportunities others abandon. Impulse is expensive. Impulse feels small in the moment. A little purchase here. A rushed decision there. A shortcut that seems harmless. Over time, impulse becomes a tax. It drains capital. It creates inconsistency. It sabotages compounding. Stoicism teaches you to slow the moment between urge and action. That space is where freedom lives. You don't eliminate impulse. You learn not to obey it. The discipline of waiting. Waiting is uncomfortable because it forces you to face uncertainty. But waiting is also powerful. Those who rush pay premiums. Those who wait get clarity. In investing, in business, in life, the person who can wait without anxiety often wins. The Stoics trained patience not by hoping, but by accepting uncertainty. They understood that outcomes are never guaranteed, but character is always under your control. When you stop needing immediate confirmation, you make better decisions. Why comparison destroys wealth. Comparison is loud. It makes you feel late. It makes you feel inadequate. It makes you abandon your plan for someone else's highlight reel. Stoicism teaches inward measurement. You compare yourself only to who you were yesterday. You measure progress by discipline, not applause. Comparison leads to overspending, over-risking, and constant dissatisfaction. Silent builders avoid this by staying private. Privacy keeps your path clean. Minimalism as a strategic choice. Stoicism naturally leads to simplicity. Not as a trend, as a strategy. Fewer wants mean fewer expenses. Fewer expenses mean lower pressure. Lower pressure means better decisions. When your lifestyle is simple, income volatility becomes manageable. Risk feels less threatening. Opportunity feels more accessible. You are not forced into desperation. Minimalism is not deprivation. It is leverage. Control what is yours to control. This is one of the core Stoic principles. You cannot control markets. You cannot control inflation. You cannot control other people's decisions. You can control how much you save, how consistently you invest, how patiently you wait, how calmly you respond. Most people waste energy worrying about what they cannot control while neglecting what they can. Silent wealth builders reverse this. They focus on process, not prediction. The quiet confidence that comes from discipline. There is a confidence that does not need to speak. It comes from knowing. You don't spend impulsively. You don't panic easily. You don't chase validation. This confidence shows up in how you carry yourself, how you negotiate, how you handle setback. It is not arrogance. It is self-trust. And self-trust compounds. This is not about perfection. Stoicism is not about never failing. You will make mistakes. You will misjudge situations. You will feel emotion. The difference is what you do next. Do you spiral or do you adjust? Silent builders correct quietly and continue. No drama. No excuses. No public justification. Just progress. The long game becomes clear. When desire is controlled, a shift happens. You stop needing fast money. You stop chasing trends. You stop reacting emotionally. Your timeline extends. Years feel manageable. Decades feel realistic. This is where real wealth begins. Not when income spikes, but when behavior stabilizes. This part is about discipline you don't show anyone. The kind that happens alone. In small decisions. On ordinary days. Part 3. Time is the quiet force behind every fortune. Not luck. Not intelligence. Not even effort on its own. Time. Most people understand this intellectually, but very few live as if it's true. They rush decisions, chase fast wins, and abandon good plans because results don't arrive quickly enough. The Stoics would have seen this as a failure of perspective. They believed that a short time horizon creates weak decisions, while a long one creates calm. Wealth, like character, is shaped slowly. And anything shaped slowly lasts. Why urgency is usually a trap. Urgency feels productive. It makes you feel alert, focused, alive. But most urgency is artificial. It comes from comparison, from fear of missing out, from impatience disguised as ambition. The Stoics warned against urgency because it narrows thinking. When you feel rushed, you stop evaluating properly. You cut corners. You accept risks you wouldn't normally accept. In money, urgency is expensive. Fast decisions lead to overpaying. Rushed investments lead to regret. Hasty commitments limit future options. Silent builders slow down on purpose. They know that opportunities repeat, but capital lost to impatience is harder to recover. Thinking in decades changes everything. Most people ask, what can I gain this month? Stoic thinkers ask, what will still matter in 10 years? This shift changes behavior immediately. You stop chasing trends because trends expire. You stop overspending because image fade. You stop panicking over short-term losses because they shrink with time. Long-term thinking doesn't make you passive. It makes you selective. You choose fewer things, but you commit to them fully. The illusion of fast money. Fast money always carries hidden costs. Stress, fragility, dependence on timing instead of discipline. Even when it works, it trains the wrong habits. You begin to expect speed. You lose patience for steady growth. You take bigger risks to recreate the feeling. The Stoics believed that anything gained too quickly often leaves just as quickly. Slow wealth builds resilience. It doesn't rely on perfect timing. It survives mistakes. It compounds quietly. Patience is not doing nothing. Patience is often misunderstood. It is not waiting passively. It is active restraint. You continue learning while others rush. You continue preparing while others gamble. You continue refining while others jump. Stoic patience is disciplined action without emotional urgency. You are moving, but calmly. Why consistency beats intensity. Intensity looks impressive. Long hours. Big risk. Dramatic moves. Consistency looks boring. Small contributions. routine decisions, unremarkable days. But consistency wins because it survives reality. Life interrupts intensity. Consistency adapts. The Stoics favored daily discipline over heroic effort. They understood that a system you can repeat is more powerful than one that exhausts you. Wealth rewards what you can sustain. Time reveals who is serious. Time is a filter. It removes people who need quick validation, get discouraged easily, abandon plans when excitement fades. Those who remain are not always the smartest, but they are the most patient. Silent builders let time work for them instead of fighting it. They don't announce progress. They don't explain delays. They don't justify slow growth. They keep showing up. Delayed gratification is a form of power. Every financial decision is a trade between now and later. Most people choose now. Now feels real. Later feels abstract. The Stoics trained themselves to see the future as clearly as the present. They imagined consequences before acting. Not with fear, but with clarity. When you delay gratification, you reduce financial pressure. You increase future options. You strengthen self-trust. Each delayed impulse is a quiet investment. Compounding rewards calm behavior. Compounding doesn't respond to excitement. It responds to repetition. Small actions, done consistently, grow beyond what feels reasonable in the beginning. This requires emotional steadiness. If you check too often, you'll interfere. If you react too much, you'll interrupt the process. If you expect constant feedback, you'll quit early. The Stoics would have appreciated compounding, not just financially, but mentally. Habits compound. Discipline compounds. Patience compounds. Why silence and time work together. Silence protects time. When you don't explain yourself, you save hours of mental energy. When you don't compare yourself, you avoid unnecessary detours. When you don't perform for others, your timeline stays intact. Loud lives are rushed lives. Quiet lives move at their own pace. That pace is usually faster in the long run. Accepting slow progress without resentment. This is difficult. Watching others appear to move faster can create doubt. It can make you question your approach. It can tempt you to abandon patience for speed. Stoicism teaches acceptance, not resignation. You accept that meaningful things take time. You accept that progress is uneven. You accept that boredom is part of mastery. Without resentment. Resentment drains energy. Acceptance preserves it. Time reduces risk. The longer your horizon, the less fragile your decisions become. Short-term thinking magnifies volatility. Long-term thinking smooths it out. This applies to investing, career growth, skill development, business building. Time turns mistakes into lessons instead of disasters. But only if you stay in the game. The quiet confidence of those who wait. There is a calm confidence that comes from knowing you are not in a hurry. You don't chase. You don't beg. You don't panic. You move deliberately. This confidence is felt by others even when you don't speak. It affects negotiations. It affects opportunities. It affects how seriously you are taken. Rushed people signal need. Patient people signal strength. What time gives that speed never will. Speed gives excitement. Time gives stability. Speed gives stories. Time gives result. Speed gives spikes. Time gives foundations. Stoicism chooses foundations. Where this leaves you. If you adopt a long-time horizon, your behavior will change naturally. You will save more consistently. You will invest more calmly. You will spend more intentionally. Not because you force yourself, but because urgency no longer controls you. This is the quiet advantage. Part 4. Risk is unavoidable. Anyone who promises certainty is either lying or confused. The Stoics understood this long before markets existed in their modern form. Life itself, they believed, is uncertain by nature. Trying to eliminate risk entirely does not make you safe. It makes you fragile. The goal is not to avoid risk. The goal is to relate to risk correctly. Most people don't fail financially because they take risk. They fail because they misunderstand them. Why fear and recklessness look similar. Fear and recklessness seem like opposites, but they come from the same place: poor emotional regulation. Fear freezes. Recklessness rushes. Both ignore reason. A fearful person avoids opportunities they don't fully control. A reckless person chases opportunities they don't fully understand. Both are reacting emotionally rather than thinking clearly. Stoicism teaches a third option: calm evaluation. You accept uncertainty without being intimidated by it. You act without demanding guarantees. You take calculated risks without drama. This balance is rare and valuable. Understanding what you can actually control. One of the most practical Stoic ideas is this: some things are up to you and some things are not. Markets are not up to you. Returns are not up to you. Timing is not fully up to you. What is up to you? How much you expose yourself to risk. How prepared you are for downside. How you respond when things don't go as planned. Wealth builders who last focus obsessively on what they control and let go of the rest. This alone reduces anxiety dramatically. Preparation is the antidote to fear. Fear thrives in vagueness. When you don't know your numbers, fear grows. When you don't understand your investments, fear grows. When you haven't planned for downside, fear grows. The Stoics believed that imagining difficulty in advance made it less frightening. Not in a pessimistic way, but in a realistic one. Ask yourself, what's the worst reasonable outcome? Can I survive it? What would I do next? When you answer honestly, fear loses its grip. Prepared minds are steady minds. Why overconfidence is more dangerous than fear. Fear makes you hesitate. Overconfidence makes you careless. Many people lose money not because they doubted themselves, but because they trusted themselves too much. They assumed. This time is different. They understand more than they do. Risk doesn't apply to them. The Stoics warned against arrogance. They believed humility was a form of intelligence. You don't need to feel special to succeed financially. You need to be disciplined. Margin of safety. A Stoic concept without the name. Modern finance uses the phrase margin of safety. But the idea is deeply Stoic. It means you leave room for error. You don't spend everything you earn. You don't invest money you can't afford to leave untouched. You don't build a lifestyle that collapses under stress. Stoics valued resilience over optimization. A slightly slower path that survives hardship is better than a faster path that breaks under pressure. Accepting loss without emotional collapse. Loss is inevitable. Anyone who builds wealth long enough will experience setback. The difference is how they respond. Most people personalize loss. They see it as failure. They attach it to identity. Stoicism separates outcomes from self-worth. A loss is information, not a verdict. You review what happened calmly. You adjust where necessary. You continue without spiraling. This emotional resilience keeps you in the game while others quit. Why you should assume you'll be wrong sometimes. This is liberating, not discouraging. When you accept that some decisions won't work, you stop needing perfection. You stop hesitating endlessly. You act thoughtfully, knowing correction is part of the process. The Stoics believed wisdom included knowing your limit. Perfectionism is often fear disguised as high standard. Quiet builders make decisions knowing revision is allowed. Risk feels different when your life is simple. This is something few people talk about. Complex lives magnify risk. High fixed expenses create pressure. Debt limits flexibility. Lifestyle inflation increases fear. Simplicity gives you breathing room. When your needs are modest, you can take smarter risks without panic. You can wait longer. You can recover faster. Stoicism naturally leads to this advantage. Volatility is not the enemy. Volatility feels threatening, but it's not inherently bad. What hurts people is exposure without preparation. The Stoics taught emotional neutrality toward external fluctuations. Not denial, acceptance. You don't panic when things swing. You don't celebrate excessively when they rise. You remain steady. Calm behavior during volatility separates builders from speculators. Why quiet decision-makers win. People who talk too much about decisions often haven't made them yet. They seek reassurance. They seek validation. They seek permission. Stoic decision-making is internal. You gather information. You reflect. You decide. Then you move on without needing approval. This quiet decisiveness saves time and emotional energy. You don't need certainty, you need stability. Certainty is an illusion. Stability is achievable. Stable habits, stable savings, stable thinking. The Stoics accepted uncertainty while building inner stability. This combination allows you to move forward without anxiety. You don't wait for perfect clarity. You act with reasonable confidence. Risk becomes manageable when ego is removed. Ego wants to be right. Wisdom wants to be solvent. When ego drives decisions, you defend mistakes instead of correcting them. You double down emotionally. You ignore warning signs. Stoicism weakens ego's grip. You care more about long-term survival than short-term pride. This mindset quietly protects wealth. What this part should change for you. After this, risk should feel different. Less dramatic. Less personal. Less paralyzing. You don't need boldness. You need clarity. You don't need courage. You need preparation. Part 5. Most people misunderstand work. They think working harder automatically means moving forward. They think long hours are proof of seriousness. They think exhaustion is the price of success. The Stoics would have disagreed. They respected effort, but they valued effectiveness more. They believed work should be deliberate, not frantic. Purposeful, not theatrical. Quiet wealth is not built by those who look busy. It is built by those who are useful. Why hustle is often a distraction. Hustle culture rewards visibility. Being busy looks impressive. Being tired sounds noble. Being overwhelmed feels important. But busyness can hide a lack of direction. You can work endlessly on the wrong things. You can grind without building leverage. You can exhaust yourself without compounding result. The Stoics believed that energy should be conserved and applied carefully. Waste of time, effort, or attention was a form of self-sabotage. Silent builders ask a simple question. Is this actually moving me forward? Quiet competence beats loud effort. There is a difference between effort and competence. Effort is trying hard. Competence is knowing what matters. Competence looks calm because it doesn't rush. It doesn't need to prove itself. It doesn't panic under pressure. The Stoics trained themselves to improve skill quietly, without announcement. They believed mastery was internal before it was visible. In wealth building, this matters deeply. Those who develop rare, valuable skills over time don't need to hustle endlessly. They choose better opportunities. They negotiate from strength. They work fewer hours for greater return. Work that compounds versus work that consumes. Some work drains you and disappears. Other work compounds. Learning a valuable skill compounds. Building a reputation for reliability compound. Creating systems compounds. Responding to every demand does not. Stoicism encourages stepping back and asking, will this still matter later? Silent builders focus on work that continues paying them, financially, intellectually, or strategically, long after the effort is done. Why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. The Stoics did not rely on how they felt. They built routines that carried them through low-energy days, boring days, uncertain days. This is essential for wealth. If you only work when inspired, progress will be inconsistent. If you rely on discipline, progress becomes predictable. Quiet routines build quiet wealth. The power of being reliable. Reliability is underrated. Showing up consistently. Doing what you said you would do. Delivering without excuses. These traits don't go viral, but they create trust. And trust creates opportunity. The Stoics believed character was revealed through repeated action, not grand gestures. In the long run, people who are calm, competent, and dependable are given more responsibility and more leverage. Avoiding burnout is a strategic choice. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It is usually the result of poor boundaries, unclear priorities, or ego-driven effort. Stoicism teaches moderation. You don't work endlessly to escape life. You don't sacrifice health for appearances. You don't confuse suffering with progress. Sustainable effort beats heroic effort. Wealth built at the cost of health, relationships, or sanity is unstable. Stoics understood that a balanced life produces better decisions. Why silent workers learn faster. When you are not busy performing, you are free to learn. You can admit mistakes privately. You can ask better questions. You can refine without embarrassment. Loud workers protect image. Quiet workers improve skill. Learning quietly allows you to adapt faster than those locked into public identity. The Stoic approach to career and income. Stoicism does not demand passion. It demands competence and integrity. You don't need to love every task. You need to do meaningful work well. This mindset removes pressure. Instead of chasing the perfect job, you focus on becoming valuable, developing judgment, building optionality. Wealth grows when you become harder to replace, not louder. Work is a tool, not an identity. Many people tie their worth to productivity. When work slows, they feel anxious. When rest appears, they feel guilty. The Stoics warned against this. You are not your output. You are the one directing it. This separation keeps you grounded. It allows you to work intensely when necessary, and step back without panic when it's not. Why quiet people often advance further. Quiet people listen more. They observe patterns. They notice what others miss. They don't rush to speak. They don't overpromise. They don't waste credibility. Over time, this makes them trusted decision-makers. Trust is a form of capital. The role of patience in career growth. Just like investing, career growth compound. Small improvements accumulate. Reputation builds slowly. Skill depth takes time. Those who chase rapid advancement often plateau early. Those who focus on depth and reliability rise steadily. The Stoics accepted gradual progress without frustration. They understood that becoming exceptional is not dramatic, it is repetitive. Work quietly, let results speak later. You don't need to announce your effort. Let others notice improvement on their own. Let consistency reveal seriousness. Let time confirm value. Quiet work ages well. What this part should leave you with. After this, work should feel different. Less frantic. More intentional. More sustainable. You don't need to do more. You need to do what matters, consistently. Part 6. Money is neutral. It is not inherently good or evil. It is a tool. And like any tool, its value comes from how it is used. Most people forget this. They confuse money with security, happiness, or identity. They cling to it, fear it, or worship it. The Stoics approached money differently. They saw it as useful, not defining. It can enable freedom, but it cannot guarantee it. It can provide comfort, but it cannot purchase character. Understanding this distinction is the first step to moving in silence with wealth. Earning with purpose, not panic. Many people earn as if every paycheck is a lifeline. They chase income desperately, often in directions they do not enjoy or understand. Stoicism teaches perspective. Earning is necessary, but not urgent. Income should be a tool, not a measure of worth. The goal is to align effort with skill, opportunity, and long-term growth, not to create noise or prove yourself. When you earn with calm focus, you avoid overwork that leads to burnout. You avoid chasing vanity projects. You increase consistency in accumulating asset. Wealth is rarely created by frantic energy. It is created by steady, intentional effort. Saving as an act of freedom. Saving is not deprivation. It is liberation. Stoics would say, You save not because you fear lack, but because you value independence. Every saved dollar is a choice, a small act of control in a world that often feels unpredictable. Most people spend impulsively because spending feels immediate. Saving, by contrast, requires patience and self-control, qualities the Stoics prized above all. Every time you save quietly, you reduce dependency on circumstance. You protect your freedom of choice. You prepare yourself to act when opportunity appears. Investing with emotional discipline. Money can multiply, but only if your mind is steady. The moment you let excitement, fear, or envy drive investment decisions, you destroy the very advantage you are trying to create. The Stoics trained themselves to see money objectively. They evaluated risk without attachment, reward without desire, and trends without panic. Investing quietly requires patience to wait for the right opportunity, detachment from temporary fluctuations, consistency in applying proven principles. This is the foundation of silent financial growth. Avoiding status traps. A loud life demands status. A quiet life values substance. Most people spend to signal wealth, to impress friends, colleagues, or social media followers. This is costly, both financially and mentally. Stoicism teaches, status is unreliable, attention is fleeting, but your internal standards are yours alone. You gain leverage when you measure success privately. You avoid unnecessary comparison. You prioritize internal values over external applause. Silent wealth builders spend less on approval and more on freedom. The danger of attachment. Attachment creates vulnerability. When you tie your happiness to money, each fluctuation becomes personal. Gains bring pride, losses bring panic. Emotional swings dictate behavior. The Stoics practice detachment. Not indifference, but rational distance. Money is acknowledged for its utility, not worshipped for its existence. Detachment allows you to make better financial decisions, reduce anxiety in market volatility, maintain confidence regardless of circumstance. Understanding true ownership. Ownership is not just about having money. It is about control over how you use it. Many people own things, but the things own them. Debt, lifestyle obligations, and obligations to maintain status become chains. Stoics valued self-mastery before accumulation. Only then does ownership become meaningful. When you control desire, spending, and risk, money serves you, not the other way around. Decisions become rational, not reactive. Opportunities become clear. The wealth mindset is quiet. True financial growth does not announce itself. It is not flashy. It accumulates without notice, like a river carving a canyon over decades. Most people focus on visible metrics: income, possessions, attention. Quiet wealth focuses on invisible metrics: habits, patience, judgment, and self-control. These invisible factors determine who succeeds and who struggles. They cannot be faked. They cannot be rushed. They cannot be displayed for applause. The importance of margin. Margin is the space between what you have and what you owe, what you need and what you desire, what is necessary and what is optional. Stoics understood the importance of keeping margin in every area of life. Financial margin allows for flexibility in decisions, protection during setbacks, opportunity when others are trapped. Without margin, even wealth can feel fragile. With margin, wealth becomes freedom. Money and character are linked. Wealth is amplified by character, not intelligence. A person without discipline will ruin financial success. A person with discipline and integrity will grow wealth steadily, even from modest beginnings. Stoicism teaches that external resources amplify internal qualities. If your mind is chaotic, money magnifies chaos. If your mind is disciplined, money amplifies freedom. The quiet advantage. The core lesson. Wealth grows quietly when your mind is steady, desires are controlled, and effort is deliberate. When you move silently, you act without distraction. You make decisions without ego. You let time, patience, and consistency do the work. Results will eventually speak louder than any announcement ever could. Part 7. Wealth is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in ordinary days, through ordinary actions repeated consistently. The Stoics understood this long before modern self-help terminology ever existed. They called it virtue in practice. Today we can call it habit, daily effort that compounds quietly over time. Most people underestimate small habits. They chase breakthroughs. They look for shortcuts. They ignore the mundane because it feels boring. But compounding lives in the mundane. Daily habits are the framework of wealth. A person may read about investing, saving, or self-discipline all day, but without habit, nothing changes. The Stoics trained themselves in daily practice. Journaling to clarify thought. Reflection to refine behavior. Small acts of self-restraint. Wealth works the same way. Saving a little consistently, investing a little consistently, learning a skill a little consistently. These small, repeated actions become unstoppable over time. Routine reduces cognitive load. Most mistakes come from fatigue or distraction. When your mind is cluttered, your judgment suffers. Routines reduce mental strain. They make essential tasks automatic. They eliminate unnecessary decisions. They create space for strategic thinking. The Stoics lived with routines that freed mental energy for judgment, reflection, and growth. For wealth, the principle is the same: automate discipline. Build routines that preserve your mind for decisions that matter. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. It is tempting to think that dramatic effort pays off faster. Work 18 hours a day. Take huge risks. Chase visible progress. But intensity without consistency is fragile. It burns out. It fails. It rarely lasts. Consistency compounds quietly. Saving a small portion of income every month. Learning a skill for 30 minutes daily. Practicing restraint daily. These repeated actions accumulate faster than bursts of effort, and they survive setbacks that crush those who rely on intensity alone. The Stoic approach to daily discipline. Stoic discipline is not harsh. It is realistic. It is about aligning action with principle, not ego. It is about doing what matters, not what feels urgent. It is about steady improvement, not perfection. Each day is a microcosm of long-term wealth. Choose your actions carefully. Avoid unnecessary impulses. Make small, deliberate progress. Over years, these micro-decisions define your financial reality. Learning quietly before acting loudly. The habit of reflection matters more than you realize. Most people act before they understand. They chase trends, invest impulsively, or take on projects without preparation. Stoics practiced reflection before action. They considered outcomes, risks, and principles. In modern terms, this is research and analysis. In personal finance and career growth, it translates to understanding investments before committing, learning skills before launching, planning actions before publicizing them. Quiet preparation reduces errors and increases leverage. Micro-compounding habits. Compounding is not just financial. It applies to every area of life. A small habit repeated daily becomes unstoppable over time. Learning 20 minutes per day. Saving a small percentage consistently. Reflecting on choices quietly. These micro-actions build cumulative advantage. The Stoics recognized the power of repetition. They believed that consistent effort shapes character, and character shapes destiny. Avoiding habits that seem good but don't serve you. Not all habits are beneficial. Scrolling endlessly online may feel relaxing but erodes focus. Chasing excitement may feel alive but destabilizes discipline. Multitasking may feel productive but fragments attention. Silent wealth builders curate habits carefully. Each routine should either strengthen competence, protect freedom, increase optionality. Anything else is noise. The morning and evening advantage. Stoics structured their day intentionally. Modern psychology confirms the wisdom. Mornings are for preparation, learning, and reflection. Evenings are for evaluation and adjustment. The quiet hours, before the world demands attention and after it slows, allow you to manage your mind, review actions, and prepare for tomorrow. Applied to wealth. Financial review, reflection on spending, and learning new strategies become daily routines. Small consistent adjustments prevent errors from compounding. The role of small wins. Progress feels slow at first. Saving $50 may seem insignificant. Investing cautiously may feel boring. Learning incrementally may feel trivial. But small wins are the bricks of long-term success. Each one reinforces confidence and creates momentum. The Stoics viewed small progress as progress toward virtue. Modern wealth mirrors this. Compound small wins and the result becomes extraordinary. Accountability without audience. Most people rely on external validation to maintain habit. The Stoics relied on internal standard. You do not need others to know about your savings, your investments, or your learning. You need internal metrics. You need integrity. Private accountability strengthens habits more than public recognition. It ensures your actions are driven by principle, not applause. The quiet power of reflection. Daily reflection is the Stoic secret to continuous improvement. Each night, consider, what did I do well? What impulses did I resist? Where can I improve tomorrow? This habit allows course correction before small mistakes escalate. Over time, it creates a mental edge, clarity, and confidence that amplifies wealth-building effort. When repetition feels boring, remember this. Nothing builds silently without patience. The daily grind, the habit, the routine, the reflection, feels mundane. But boredom is the soil in which compounding grows. The Stoics embraced boredom because it strengthens character. Wealth grows quietly for the same reason. Ordinary days repeated diligently lead to extraordinary results. This part leaves you with one key understanding. Wealth is built in the invisible, repetitive, disciplined actions, not the headlines or dramatic stories. Habits, routines, reflection, and deliberate effort create leverage that no hype or luck can match. Your daily choices accumulate silently. Your repeated actions shape your future without anyone noticing. Your discipline compounds over time. Part 8. No person is an island. Even the most disciplined, silent wealth builder must navigate the social world. People, opportunities, influence, they are all interwoven with human connection. The Stoics understood this, but they approached relationships differently than most. They valued substance over spectacle. They cultivated influence without performing for it. They built networks quietly, without ostentation. This part is about mastering the social landscape without losing your inner control. The power of selective association. Who you spend time with shapes your mind and habits. Stoics believed in selective association. They surrounded themselves with wise, disciplined people and limited exposure to negativity, envy, or distraction. Modern wealth building mirrors this principle. Mentors teach faster than books alone. Peers influence behavior. Colleagues can create opportunity or drain energy. Choose associations that reinforce your principles. Avoid those that demand performance or erode discipline. Influence without ego. Most people try to influence others through noise, loud opinions, displays of wealth, or social signaling. Stoics influence by example. Quiet competence draws attention naturally. Consistency earns trust. Reliability creates respect. When you influence without ego, people respect your decisions without questioning intent. Opportunities are offered without negotiation. Networks strengthen organically. The quieter your power, the more sustainable it becomes. The importance of listening. Listening is a Stoic skill often underestimated in modern life. Most people talk to be heard, to impress, to signal intelligence. Listening, by contrast, is a form of leverage. It allows you to understand unspoken needs, Identify opportunity others miss. Build trust silently. Those who speak less and listen more often control conversations without needing to dominate them. Trust as currency. Trust is the most valuable form of social capital. It cannot be bought. It is earned through consistency, discretion, and integrity. The Stoics believed that a reputation for reliability and calm judgment was far more valuable than flashy displays or charm. Trust creates leverage. People give you opportunities. People vouch for you. People act in your favor. Silent builders treat trust as sacred, knowing it compounds over years like quiet money. Managing social energy. Every relationship consumes energy. The Stoics were deliberate about how they invested it. Not every social interaction is worth attention. Some drain focus without yielding value. Some are necessary but trivial. Wealth builders manage energy like money. Allocate to high-value connections. Limit exposure to drama. Maintain discretion. This ensures social life strengthens rather than distracts from growth. Avoiding social comparison. Comparison is one of the most corrosive social habits. Most people measure themselves by what others have, how loudly others speak, or what status others project. The Stoics warned against this, understanding that external validation is fleeting and unstable. When you avoid comparison, spending decisions are rational, not performative. Career moves are strategic, not reactive. Confidence becomes internal, not contingent on applause. Silent wealth builders measure only by personal standards, not public perception. Negotiation as a Stoic practice. Negotiation is not manipulation. It is applied logic and calm patience. A Stoic negotiator understands value before asking, prepares but does not pressure, maintains calm even under resistance. Negotiation succeeds quietly because the calm, prepared, and rational person rarely needs to force agreement. They inspire compliance through credibility and foresight, not ego or drama. Why scarcity mentality kills influence. People who act desperate often undermine themselves. They overcommunicate, chase attention, compromise standards. The Stoics practiced abundance in relationships. There are always choices. Patience, selectivity, and calm presence create natural leverage. Scarcity mentality is loud. Abundance is silent. The role of reciprocity. Reciprocity is a subtle force in human interaction. Helping others quietly creates bonds that may never be advertised but pay dividends later. Stoics understood the principle. Give freely without expectation, act justly without show. Networks grow naturally when assistance is genuine, consistent, and discreet. Silent builders reap long-term benefit from small acts of quiet generosity. Discretion as a strategic advantage. Oversharing is a liability. The Stoics valued discretion. Thoughts were carefully considered. Plans were not revealed prematurely. Weaknesses were concealed. In modern wealth building, discretion protects opportunity. Competitors cannot anticipate move. Mistakes are corrected privately. Leverage remains in your hands. Silent power is protected by silence. Avoiding emotional contagion. People are influenced by the emotions around them. Stress, panic, excitement, envy, all are contagious. Stoics controlled their emotional state, regardless of circumstance. Wealth builders do the same. Remaining calm stabilizes decisions, reduces impulsive reactions, attracts rational, reliable collaborators. Silence and emotional steadiness are forms of influence. The long-term view in relationship. Relationships, like investments, compound over time. Small acts of reliability, discretion, and service build trust. Small mistakes, if repeated, erode it. The Stoics focused on enduring value over short-term gain. Modern wealth building mirrors this. Strong networks, maintained consistently, create opportunities that fleeting charisma or loud displays cannot match. This part leaves you with one key insight. Influence and relationships are not about noise. They are about consistency, discretion, and character. Silent builders. Choose associations carefully. Act with calm competence. Build trust quietly. Avoid comparison and ego-driven behavior. Over time, networks and influence become powerful tools for wealth, without drama, without attention, without performing for anyone.